Hello, everybody. Welcome to our CakeFu Master Series. I'm Amelia Carbine, your host with CakeFu. We are really excited today. We have Heap with us. She is an
Hello.
extremely talented cake decorator. She has done a lot of, the cake challenges and things like that. She's got a lot of accolades, I guess you could say. And she's really made a really good name for herself. She has her shop, The Pink Cake Box. And we're just really, really excited to have you here today, Anne.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's start with a little bit about you and talk about where you came from, how you got into cakes, and all that kind of stuff. So,
Okay.
so you started baking. Your mom started teaching you how to bake when you
Yes,
were young.
I was a little kid. Yep.
That's really cool. And
Yeah.
so, did she teach you mostly cakes? Was she a cake decorator?
No. I think
No.
that we made birthday cakes and that kind of stuff, and we always made cookies, especially at Christmas time. And I think it was just something I like to eat them, and so I just got, really into it. And I mean, from the time I was probably 5 or 6, we baked a lot, probably once or twice a week. And I had no plans for that being my future by any stretch of the imagination. I went to college, to Boston College. I was pre-med first. Then I changed over to English. I graduated with a degree in English with a concentration in creative writing. I went to advertising after college, and I basically still had this passion and started selling stuff on the side, and basically quit my job. This short story is I quit my job and went to the French Culinary Institute for pastry arts. And while I was there, I sort of discovered cake, and I got an internship with Ron Ben Israel Cakes, and I really fell in love with cakes at that point, and knew that was sort of going to be my ultimate destination.
Awesome, awesome. Were you and Jesse married at that point, or was this something
So
you had?
we were no, we actually got engaged while I was in pastry school.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, he actually proposed after I got home. One day from pastry school, it was July, and I don't know what I was thinking, but we made ice cream that day, and I brought it home from the city, and it was melted all over my hands.
Oh no,
He tried to stick the ring on my finger, and I was like, "Can I wash this
it's
sticky
sticky.
icing off?" So we got married, and he's in IT, so he actually started my website for me in 2005, and he was sort of the impetus for having a dynamic site with changing photos. And at the time, I don't think there was too many cake websites out there that had kind of rotating pictures on their blog.
Mhm.
And he was really excited about it, and it really has helped our business a lot.
It is nice to have a technical guy,
It is,
someone that
it
really
is.
knows how to work a computer.
Yes.
Or if you know how to work a computer, that's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
it's
I mean, I know
really
how to
nice
work
to
it, but
have.
not the way he does.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I've had to learn a few things,
Yeah.
running the website.
You seem very savvy.
I try.
Yeah.
Sometimes I screw it up, but I do the best I can.
Okay.
Yep. All right. So you want to talk about your Food Network challenges and
For sure.
TLC and that kind of thing?
Sure. So I've been on 3 Food Network challenges. Two of them were sort of when I first started. The first one I ever did was a disaster. And as sort of they would progress, I got better. And then I did 2 Ultimate Cake Off challenges, and we won the Legoland challenge. That was a really fun one. We built this 7.5 foot tall cake that spun. Each Lego piece kind of spun in different directions. We had a water slide. It was very very intense cake, but it was a
Yeah.
very fun experience.
I
Um,
remember I remember that one. That one
yeah.
was really, really cool. So which one was your first one that was the disaster?
My first one was what was it called? Battle of the Brides. It was we weren't allowed to bring our own assistant, so they paired us each with a bride, and we had
Ah.
to make their dream wedding cake. And of course, like I had this plan of like it's white, pretty wedding cake, and they put me with like this rocker girl who wanted this like guitar cake with all these bright colors, and very naively, I agreed to kind of change my entire design and try to do this for her in 8 hours. And I mean, I was so
Oh
out of my element.
wow.
So yeah,
That's a
I
tough thing to do.
yeah, it wasn't a good scene, but I learned a lot from it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, that's really fun that you've been able to have those experiences.
it is
And
fun. A lot of people ask me about them and say, "Is it really like? Do you really have to do it in 8 hours?" Yeah, you do, and it's not real life, so it's kind of, it's the one nice thing is that it's. I would be mortified if that was like a customer I had to make that for because you worry about what would happen in 8 hours, but they throw so many weird elements at you that it's ridiculous, but kind of fun at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, the cake shows make people think that you can get a cake thrown out together in,
Oh
in
yeah,
8 hours." And
right.
people call me last minute, "Where's my
Yeah,
cake?"
right.
You
I mean,
know?
because the structures alone take like multiple hours to build, so it's
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. Well, I know, when I did I only did Ultimate Cake Off, but
Hmm.
when I did that, it took, we were last minute, I guess the backup crew.
Okay.
And so yeah, it took days to just
Yeah.
even figure out what the structure was going to be,
Oh
let
yeah.
alone, getting it all pulled together and
Right.
supplies and all of that. So
Getting it out there, and it's like yeah, it's a
yeah. Yeah.
whole
And if
ordeal.
you're doing, yeah, if you're doing a more extreme cake, that could take
Right.
months,
Oh
to
yeah,
get everything
definitely,
worked out.
definitely.
Yeah.
While you're like
Yep.
trying to run a business on the side, you know.
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
So, but that's what
Yep.
makes it fun, I guess.
Yep. So, and it says on here that you are on the board for Icing Smiles. That is just the
Yes.
coolest thing.
Yeah, it's a
How did
great
you
organization.
how did you get
Um,
involved in that?
um, I don't even know how we got involved in the beginning. I think we heard about Tracy and sort of the organization. I think maybe we reached out to her and said we wanted to participate in just sort of, you know, doing cakes for kids that, needed it. And Jesse sort of got involved and has been helping a little bit here and there with sort of the technology aspect of it. Unfortunately, he hasn't been able to give as much time as he wants. He's so busy with work and helping me, but we try to sort of tag team and help out as much as we can with it.
That's great. Icing Smiles is a really great organization,
It is.
and yeah, it's
It's
one
it's
that,
very impressive.
yeah,
I hope that we can sort of help raise more funds and everything to help them really get the outreach that they need.
yeah, definitely. If you can be a part of Icing Smiles, you should, because
Yes,
it's really great.
definitely,
It is.
definitely.
All right, and so now you have recently come out with your Pink Cake Box U, which
Yes,
is your educational side of things. So you've been
yes,
mostly, all about the cakes, and now you're, reaching out into the learning and teaching side of
yes.
things.
We're branching out a little bit. I've done, classes here at the shop, but not as many as we started recently doing. There's been a huge demand for it, so we sort of increased our class offerings. We sort of concentrate more in the winter months, just we're slower here, but we will be offering a few throughout the spring and summer as well. And we also launched two DVDs recently, Cake 101 and 102, which are sort of great basic tools for if you want to learn how to ice your cake in a way that gets really straight, clean lines and fondant your cake. Also the same with straight, clean lines. We get a lot of emails we get are just kind of say like, how do you get your cake so straight or so perfect or so clean? So we figured that was sort of a good first step for people because without that, you can decorate the cake beautifully, but if it's not nice underneath, then you don't get the same result. So that's been going very well, and we're trying to put up a lot of sort of free content also, little short tutorials on things just to give people little tips and tricks from Cake Box and sort of take a little like bird's eye view of what we do in our shop.
Oh, that's fun. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
All right. And you have come out with, this is really kind of pretty cool, that you're teamed up with Craftsy a little bit, and
yes,
you're doing
yes,
you've got a video that has just come out, or a class, I guess, it's just
yes.
come out through Craftsy.
Hmm.
So what's the name of that?
It's cake toppers figure modeling.
Cake
So we're
toppers.
yes. It's funny that I can't remember saying because I have to say it so many times when we're taping that I'm like stumbling over it now. So we're doing sort of basic gum paste figures, nothing crazy detailed, but sort of more so people get an understanding of structurally how to create the figures, from a lying baby, a sleeping baby, to a sitting figure to a pregnant woman, and then finally we do a standing person. So it sort of
Great.
runs the gamut of
A structure.
positions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really great because I think that, a lot of people can put together a little figure, but how do you structure it so it's not going to fall apart? So
Right.
that's really
Right.
that's really
Exactly.
important. So that would be
It
a
is
really
very
great
important.
class.
Yeah, it is.
Good.
It's
Well,
very
speaking of your craftsy class and your
yes.
cake toppers, that's the training that we're going to be doing today. Anne is going to be showing us how to do a cute little sculpted little lion. It's so
Yep.
cute. It's totally Anne Heap. So I was really excited about it. All
Oh, good.
right,
Thank you.
so I will just let you. Oh, sorry, choking a little bit. I'll let you just take it from here, and you
Okay.
can just explain everything.
Okay, so if you know how to use gum paste, obviously this first picture is a little obvious, but we do get a lot of questions from people about coloring gum paste and if it comes colored or not, and if you make your own or purchase it. You can make your own gum paste. We use satin a lot. We also make some of it ourselves as well for certain different projects. It does not come colored as far as I know from anywhere, so you do need to color it yourself. The nice thing about coloring it yourself is you have control, obviously, over the shade and color. We
Mm-hmm.
use mostly AmeriColor gel colors, and you just add a little bit to your white paste. And if we want a really dark color, I like to sort of start with a little bit and then just add more white to it. And just the one thing you want to keep in mind is to wear gloves because the gel color does stain your hands very badly.
It
And
does.
yeah, if you're using like black or something, it's really quite disgusting. And you want to have a little vegetable shortening on hand as well, just because otherwise it'll stick to the gloves and to the table. But you want to be aware of not sort of needing too much shortening into your gum paste because it will break down the structure and it won't dry as firmly and as well. So you do want to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and you don't want your pretty cute little piece falling apart on you.
No.
That would be so no good.
So yeah,
Okay.
so this is the first step.
All right.
Oh yes, and store the gum paste in a plastic bag,
Oh yeah,
obviously.
that's right, because it will dry out.
It will dry out very quickly, yes. And if you do store it in a plastic bag, it will stay for a long time. So if you don't use all of it right away, we like to store them in like Ziploc bags, and then we put them in like old fondant buckets, and they'll last for months. So if it gets too hard, you'll know if it's too hard. You won't be able to knead it, so you can throw it away.
Yeah.
But
Those fondant and
um,
gum paste buckets are they really do
very
help
handy.
keep the air out of
Yeah.
things. And they will last longer in those buckets.
Yes,
So,
they
yeah.
will. So for the body, we just start with a ball. And one of the things to keep in mind is when working with gum paste, especially for figure modeling, you want to sort of apply a good amount of pressure to the gum paste so that you get a nice smooth ball or body. You don't want to have a lot of people say, oh, I have cracks. Part of the problem is you're not sort of using enough pressure to when you're rolling it, so it has air bubbles trapped in there. The other thing is sometimes it can be a little dry, so you can actually add water right into your gum paste, and it won't break it down. So you just take a little bit of water and have a little bit of shortening so it doesn't stick, and kind of knead it in. And once it's sort of nice and moist, you'll be able to smooth it out much easier.
Great. Those are some good little tips there.
Yeah, and then you just sort of roll one end down a little bit to form like a teardrop shape for the lion body.
Okay. So did you break off two pieces? Is that
No, this is the same ball. I
oh,
just kind
okay.
of rolled the ball into a teardrop. Yeah.
Okay.
And then this is just a stitch tool that you can get at a cake supply or Michael's or something like that. And this is for like a cute child's or baby cake. You just stitch up the body and down the back, and it gives it a cute stitched look.
Yeah, I love the cute little figures that have the stitching. I
Yeah,
just think
it's
that's so
very
cute.
sweet, and it adds a little. It's not very hard to do, and it adds like a cute little touch.
It's a really, good effect for just not
Yeah,
very much work.
yeah, exactly. So this is just a skewer that we stick through the body and into just a cake dummy. You want to make sure the cake dummy is at least as tall as your cake so that you don't have the skewer running through the bottom of it or something. We like to stick our skewers, our cakes are probably about 4 to 5 inches tall usually, so you want the skewer bottom to be at least 2 or 3 inches, so enough to anchor into the cake. And then we just rolled another ball and stuck it right on the top, and we use a little bit of Tylose glue to adhere the head. And Tylose glue is basically a mixture of Tylose, which is a drying agent. It comes in a powder form, and you just mix basically half and half with warm water, equal amounts, and just stir it until it dissolves, and it works really well to glue gum paste together.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
All right.
And then these are the little legs. So the way you do these, just roll like a log. And I like to just use a paring knife and just cut them next to each other so they're the same length. And then we just run the stitch tool up the sort of bottom of the foot along the top of the leg. And then I just take a toothpick and I just break it in half, and I just kind of stick a little piece into each end of the leg. And then this way you can use those to anchor into the body. And again, we use Tyler's glue with a paintbrush to stick them together.
Okay.
All right, so now we have, did I skip a step here? I don't know, maybe I did. The arms, the arms are the same, basically the same thing you do with the legs, or the arms roll a little log. The only difference is you'll see it's up at the shoulder, it's a little bit thinner. So you just want to kind of roll that down a little bit so that you don't have big, bulky, shoulders. And then you just stitch along the outside of the arm as well. And the only difference also with the hand, I think it's in the finished product, we make it more of like a rounded mitt than kind of a straight, but you could do either. It's sort of just an aesthetic look. And then those we don't use, I don't use any toothpick or anything on those because they're kind of stuck to the body, so you can just put a little bit of glue all the way down the inside of the arm and it will stick right to the body and you won't have to worry about any other support. And then the little snout is just a little ball that we just kind of smush and stick on. If you feel like it's not staying on very well, you can put a little toothpick also just so that it holds on a little bit better. And then in this picture, I'm just using a knitting needle, a very small knitting needle, to create the little eye sockets. You can also use a toothpick if you don't have one.
Awesome. I've never thought of the knitting needle thing. That's a really clever idea.
Actually, for all sorts of things. It's got a nice rounded end, so it kind of leaves a nice, not too sharp hole.
Oh, perfect. That's really clever.
Thanks.
Okay.
And then we just roll tiny little balls of black gum paste and kind of stick them into the sockets. Creating the socket just helps it not look like it's bug-eyed, because if you just stick the balls on the outside, they look like these kind of creepy-looking eyes. And then just a little black nose. And with the lion, we like to put the nose kind of up high on the snout so that it's, it has a kind of a cute, kind of more of a feline look. Although, as you can see right now, what it looks like, if you just added bear ears, you could have a bear also. So it's sort of a multi-purpose figure.
Yeah, he's looking really cute so far.
Thank you.
I like how you put the stitching down his snout. That's really That's really fun.
Yes, the stitching kind of goes all the way up and down.
Yeah.
Okay, so then here we have it could be a bear. Generally, when we make our bears, we make the snout a little more pointy, but for all practical purposes, this is pretty much similar to a bear. And basically, at this point for the ears, we just roll two tiny little balls, kind of pinch them. You can see where they meet the head. They have a little sort of pinch, and a little bit of glue. And sometimes we'll use just a small floral wire, a little bit of maybe like an 18 or 20 gauge, and just kind of put a little one in there to give it some support. Only because when you go to put the mane on, you want it to be really adhered. Otherwise, they can kind of bump them off.
Okay.
So that adds a little bit of extra stability to it.
Okay. Do you ever worry about, having the supports in there and, a kid taking a bite out of it?
Edibility of it. So we do tell people that all our figures have toothpicks, wires, non-edible supports in them. It is a concern, of course, and we do get some people that are very anti-using non-edible materials in cake anything. But unfortunately, it's not realistic for me, since we deliver our cakes so far away, for them to not have these supports in them. If you're making it at home and you're serving it to your own children, you can easily make this and not have to put all the supports in because it's not going anywhere. But if you're going to be traveling with it, it is a good idea to use them. If you can make it really far ahead of time and you can use the glue and it seems like it's stuck together, you might be able to get away with not using them. But I just like to tell people that they're in there. And to be honest with you, the gum paste dries so hard that you can't really eat it anyway. So it's not like there's really much of a chance of someone taking a bite out of the head. It's very hard. But if you do make it out of modeling chocolate or something like that, it is softer. So you might be able to. I've heard people use spaghetti for supports, and I'm sure you could use that for the ears. I don't think that would be strong enough for the center of support of his body.
Probably not. Yeah.
But maybe for the legs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are good little tips there. Spaghetti might be fun.
Yeah. So this is for the mane, and there are lots of ways you can create a mane. This one's a little bit more challenging. It's got a cute effect, but if you don't want to do this much work, you can also just kind of roll your little orange balls and stick them all around the face, or just kind of do little fringy pieces.
Points.
Yeah, little points, and you can get creative. Or if you're matching an invitation, sometimes they have like circle ones or little triangles. You could even do like royal icing with the grass tip if you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so what we've done here is we just roll out the gum piece very thinly, and then our orange, obviously, and we cut just a thin strip with a pizza cutter or an X-Acto knife, and then we kind of just roll it up into an accordion sort of zigzaggy pattern on its side. And you just let it set up on the table for like a, I don't know, maybe like a minute.
Okay, so you want it to start to harden.
Just a little bit, yes. Yeah, so it doesn't, when you go to pick it up, it doesn't just fall apart.
Okay.
You can even, depending on the moistness level of your gum piece, if it seems like it's really dry, you can add a little touch of glue in between each of the little zigzag pieces to help it stick together.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then what we do is we just put a little bit of glue with a paintbrush sort of on the top of his head. And I do want to point out, because you couldn't see from the first picture, the ear location. You want to make sure you're putting the ear sort of a little further toward the front of his head, because otherwise you won't have room for the mane. And that's one of the things we see a lot when I teach this class. I put them too far back, and then the mane is like back here. They have like a giant forehead. Yeah. So if you do that, don't worry, because you can easily pluck the ears out and move them. But just keep in mind when you're doing it. And then what we do is we just use toothpicks to sort of hold the mane there in place, just temporarily, obviously, until it dries, and then otherwise it sort of starts sliding down the side of the head. And then you can kind of we add like each section around the face like that, and then just add little pieces of toothpick around.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, and there's some more in pieces. Do you ever have a hard time getting the toothpicks out?
No, they come right out. You don't want to stick them too far in, obviously, and make sure there's no glue on them. But yeah, no, they come right out.
Okay.
So yeah, you can see here that sort of.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
Do you want me to go back?
No, you don't have to go back.
Okay.
This is just the tail. We just pretty self-explanatory. We just added a little log, stitched it. We put a little use the needle tool at the end, so it looks like it was sort of like pinned on there. And then we just take a little piece and just cut little fringes into it with an X-Acto knife and put it on the end.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
It's the little details like that that make all the difference.
I love the animal tushes.
Aren't they fun?
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah, reminds you of the cute little baby bums.
Yes, exactly.
They're just too cute.
I know.
Oh, look at him.
And there he is, all done. And you can add. We add sometimes party hats or little bow ties, or whatever you want to dress them up. You can add different colors, like on the belly if you want, or little shoes, feet, whatever you want.
Oh, cute. Cute. All right. Okay, so I think that's the tutorial part of things. You're sharing a recipe with us, and we'll, I guess, take a look at that. For those of you that want the instructions for this, it wouldn't all fit on the slide, so I'm going to be putting it up on the website later on today. So if you want to go to our blog, cakefu.com, and you'll be able to find it there.
Yes.
So, but this looks so yummy.
Yes, I do enjoy crumb cake. It's one of the things that my mom actually and I used to make all the time. So,
oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
To me, that's something same with me. That's the kind of desserts that my mom always liked to make.
Yeah.
The crisps and
right.
The coffee cakes and things like that have that crumbly texture
right.
to them.
Nice
Love it.
Food, yeah.
It is. It is. All right, so this one is just a fairly basic cake.
Yeah, it's a basic sort of New York style crumb cake. It's a buttermilk in the cake, so it's very moist. I personally like a lot of crumbs, so this recipe is like literally like this much cake and like that much crumb. So
awesome.
If you don't like that, then you can almost like half the recipe, or maybe like by a third reduce it. But I personally I think the crumb is the best part. So
I would make it just this way too.
Yeah, exactly. And I like to sort of, when I make the crumbs, like make giant crumbs, not like little crumbly crumbs, because then it's sort of really delicious.
Yum. All right. That sounds like a really good, and it looks like it's fairly easy to do.
Yes, it's very easy. You melt the butter for the crumbs, and you don't even have to like mix it. You just can mix it with your hands after you melt butter and dump it on top of all the crumb toppings. Do that ahead of time so it's not too warm when you go to put it on, or it will sink to the bottom. So
Hmm.
do the crumbs first, and then just make up your cake batter and throw it in your pan. And you can even make muffins, crumb muffins like this.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Yeah,
I bet that you could probably make a muffin out of this.
you can, and you can even spread like a little raspberry jam before you put the crumbs if you want to have that as well.
All right.
Make it more
Oh,
fancy. Yeah,
my bad. I
go
put
ahead.
Amelia's favorite recipe instead of Anne's
Oh, I
favorite
didn't even notice.
recipe.
Well, see, you were
I, I
foreseeing that it's going to be your favorite recipe.
I use my one of my old ones as the template for
Don't
everyone.
worry.
So I'm sorry. This is
Oh, it's
Anne's
fine.
favorite recipe, but it would be mine too, I'm
There
sure.
you go.
Just as well. All right. And like I said, we'll have the instructions on how to put this together on the website. So, all right. Well, let's get to our questions. I'm sure that we have a whole bunch. It'll take me just a minute to pull these things up. Okay. Sorry, it takes me a second
No
these days
problem.
to get them found. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Our first question is from Stacy Urbina. Oh, and by the way, for those of you that are wondering how to ask a question, if you came in late, there is down below this screen, there is an ask a question box. So you can go in there and type in your question, and we'll get that answered. And also, for those of you that may have been uh, a little bit late, you can. This is the spot where we'll do our giveaway. So make sure that you're familiar with the ask a question part. So ask your questions. Okay, let's see. Stacy Urbina. I, I hope I say that right. I just every time I have to apologize. I hope I get your names right, and if I don't, I'm so sorry. Okay, so Stacy asks. Anne, you're so talented. What is your favorite part of what you do?
Oh boy. Well, let's see. I love when I get to meet customers and sort of hear what their event is going to be like, and sort of, especially if they don't really have necessarily a vision, and we kind of create something together, um, and then when I kind of see that drawing come to real life, it's really exciting for me. And of course, the ultimate happiness is when you see the customer's face, or you get a great testimonial saying how the cake was the centerpiece of the party, or the birthday person was a surprise, or the wedding cake made their memory so much better. It's just so rewarding, and it's such instant gratification on a selfish level, because it's every week I get to I get to see it. It's not like I have to wait for like months.
Uh huh.
So it is definitely instant gratification, to see and hear people's responses to your artwork.
Well, that's the best part of what we do, isn't it?
Yeah,
I
yes,
think that at least you and I were one and the same because that's my favorite
exactly.
parts too.
I know, and a lot of people say like, "Oh, don't you hate like getting rid of the cakes or cutting them?" But I don't really feel
No.
that way. I feel like that's what they're meant for. That's their destination.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. And the one of the best parts is having people cut into it and taste it. And, oh, this is so good.
right, right,
So,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
All right, so we have Rachel Squirrel. Squirrel says, "Do you think that pursuing education as a pastry chef is essential in the world of cake decorating?"
Um, we get that question a lot as well. I think that it definitely cannot hurt you, because like I said, I've baked a lot my whole life. I understood the science of it, but when you get a pastry education, you learn a lot more science than you ever even realized, that can help you troubleshoot later on, or you might learn recipes that you would not know how to make otherwise. Learning how to make custard and mousse, and whether it's working with sugar, like poured sugar or blown sugar, you never know when that knowledge might come into play. I don't do a ton of poured sugar, but we recently started doing some of it, and without that educational piece, I don't think I'd be too scared to even do it. There are a lot of classes out there, though, that are specific towards different things. So I don't think you necessarily have to get a pastry arts degree But I would suggest getting at least some training, whether it's learning, I didn't learn how to the way I square off a cake now. I didn't really learn in pastry school. I did learn about crumb coating and all that. I didn't even know anything about that before I went to
Mm-hmm.
school. I mean, my first cake was like a disaster. It was it was warm. I iced it warm. It slid apart. Like I didn't know what I
Oh
was doing.
no.
So yeah, I think that you definitely learn a lot from some type of education. I mean, there's lots of places you can go and just get it. And I think when I started, there was a lot less sort of resources out there like that. So, I would suggest definitely getting some sort of education, whether it's just sort of more direct, distinct skill set that you might not have. But it's always a good idea because instead of reinventing the wheel, like learn from people who know what they're doing, and
Yeah.
then develop it your own a little bit more. But at least you don't have to start. Like some of the things I did, I was like, why did I wasted so much time? I
I
wish I knew.
I totally agree with you
Yeah.
completely. And that's what things like this are for. That's what, your classes
Right.
that you're teaching, that
Exactly.
and the craftsy classes, that's what
Right.
these are all about.
Right.
This is education, and
Exactly.
it's worth investing in. Not going to pastry school, if you have the time and the money and that,
Right.
go for it. If
Right.
not, that's what these
Right.
things are for.
It's not an option for everyone.
So,
The other thing is though, if you do take any kind of class in a professional setting, and you plan on working in a professional setting, it's also good because you learn just basic kitchen etiquette. You learn how to use,
that's true.
professional supplies and professional equipment. I mean, I'd never used, a 20-quart mixer before I went to school. So, these are the kinds of things that you learn.
Uh-huh. Great. Maybe we should have someone teach some classes on,
Yeah.
setup of, a good setup for a station, or, the things
Right.
that you learn
Exactly.
in culinary school. Maybe we
Right.
should do something like that. That would
Yeah.
be useful.
Yes.
All right. Oh, here's one. If we can touch on this really fast.
Uh-huh.
Gloria asks, how can one get involved with Icing Smiles, and what and who does it benefit?
Sure. Icing Smiles, you can. They have a website. You can go. I think we have a link off of our website. Pretty sure you do. We do. And they also on Facebook. You can find them. And basically, you can, if you want to be a baker for them, you can contact them and let them know sort of that you're interested. And basically, what happens is if there's a child, usually they're quite sick, terminally ill, and they sort of are contacted, and or the Icing Smiles is contacted. They might have a special birthday or something, and they'll tell you that the child needs a cake in wherever, Minnesota, and then they'll reach out to the bakers that are in that area and say, can you fulfill this cake for this specific weekend, whatever, give them the details, and then they work with the actual customer and then provide the cake, and it's a volunteer. Obviously, a volunteered basis, so there's no reimbursement for the baker, and it's a great organization because these people are so grateful to have these cakes for these celebrations for these kids' birthdays or half birthdays or whatever it's for.
Perfect. Yeah. I I've done one Icing
Mhm.
Smiles cake, and that was really just, it was so rewarding.
It's so
You
rewarding.
know, I
Yeah,
you
it
know
really
I
is.
was I was caught up in the moment of making sure the cake gets there and set up and everything.
Yeah,
But my husband, he told me afterwards. He said I had to leave the room. I was choking up so bad. And
yeah,
I'm like,
it is.
oh,
Yeah,
So it really is a
it's
wonderful thing to be a part of.
yes, I agree.
Yeah. All right, so let's see. Tara asks, "Where's a good online source for a lot of products that you talk about, like your glues and things? We live in a small town. Our closest source is Michael's, and it's over 2 hours away."
Okay. Well, so the Tylos, you can get, I think at most cake decorating supplies places. We get a lot of ours from CK products, but I think you have to be wholesale to
You
purchase from
do.
there. You do,
Hmm.
okay. So, Global Sugar Art, there's barrels, there's, oh my God, I'm blanking out right now. I could probably email you a list and you could put it up maybe.
There we
Would that
go.
be, okay.
Yeah. Hmm.
Unless you think of any off the top of your head. Okay. Off the top of my head, I can't, I'm like blanking out. Oh God, what is wrong with me?
Well, I'm sure in the chat box
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of people typing in. Well,
Okay.
there's this
Telling.
place, this place,
Yeah.
this place.
Okay.
So
Good. Thank you.
read your chat box. I'm sure
Yeah.
that everyone out there has their favorite place to
Even
go.
Amazon, Amazon is
That's
tons
true.
of stuff.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Amazon does have quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. Oh, that's kind of a fun one. What was the most memorable cake that someone made for you?
Oh, for me. Well, for my 30th birthday, we had a big party at my mom's house, and my staff actually made a cake for me in front of me, but without me knowing it was for me. So they had a fake name for it and fake everything for it, and I like loved it, of course, because it was so me. And I kept saying, "Oh, I love this cake, I love this cake," and then they showed up at the party with the cake for me. So
Oh,
that
how
was
fun!
yeah, that was very memorable for me because I think it was the first really, fancy cake I've ever had for myself.
Oh, that is neat. We usually don't get the fancy cakes, huh?
Yeah, no, you don't even want them, right? I'm like, my mom. I used to
Yeah.
ask my mom to make me my favorite like sour cream cake with her chocolate frosting for my birthday
Uh-huh. Or a crumb cake, right?
or crumb cake. Yeah.
There you go. All right. This is one that I know that a lot of people want to ask this question, but don't very often.
Okay.
I know that everyone wants to know from, especially the top cake decorators that are so good, and all you see is the perfectness that you do. So let's see. Claire North asks, "What was your worst disaster, and how did you rectify it?"
Oh Lord, I mean, we do have disasters. One of the things I will like to preface with by saying is that one of the things that we've learned from our mistakes is to always have the cake ready the night before it's due, because this way, if you do have a problem, you have a whole night to fix it. We try to make sure that the cake isn't being finished the morning of the event because you never have. I mean, I know sometimes it doesn't work out that way, but that's sort of the ideal. Um,
Hmm.
I think when pretty early on when I started, we had a cake that it was an Oscar model of a Oscar award, and it was very tall. I think it was like 2 feet tall or something. And the guy came to pick it up. It was pouring rain, and we went out the back door, and he tripped over the barrier in the parking lot. And the cake, I like screamed. I was like, ah! And I had half the cake. It was really heavy, and it went down, and the Oscar's head was like implanted in the box. And I mean, he was like on the floor. I didn't even like care at him. I was like, freaking out. So we brought the box in and kind of glittered this thing's head to the point of, and it actually came out okay. We replaced everything
That's
that's
good.
broken. That was probably the most drastic one. I mean, we've had a few issues in the past where just things haven't come out the way we wanted them.
Hmm.
We've tried to make we make different color red velvet, so we'll make like pink velvet, purple velvet. We tried to make coral velvet ones, which just didn't work because it was either orange or pink. So
Oh,
we
hmm.
wound up making like 19 cakes for like a
Oh
4-tier cake because we
gosh,
just couldn't get it right. And we finally had to call the customer and just say like, "Do you want a
this
pink or
isn't gonna
orange?" Like pick
work.
one. Yeah.
Oh
but
no.
yeah, I mean, we make mistakes too. I mean, and I think the part of cake I love is that you can fix almost anything.
Hmm.
It's not like a pie that you can throw in the oven and it comes out and it is what it is. You can add icing, you can add a fondant decoration, you can add a gumpiest flour, you can do things to make things mistakes look better.
Yeah, it's not very often that something messes up so bad that you just
Right,
can't fix it.
right, exactly.
So, well,
You're
good.
not
I'm
gonna
glad
win.
you haven't had very many, hopefully.
No, not too many.
That's good. All right. Um, let's see. Carol Ann asks, "What do you add to your fondant?" Or this might be a, um, do you add anything to your fondant to make it cover a cake smoothly?
No, we don't add anything. We do use satinized fondant. We, color it. We use their pre-colored fondants and mix our own shades from it. If the fondant is a little bit dry, you can add a little bit of water and shortening into it. If it's a little bit too wet, you can use a little powdered sugar. Some people like cornstarch. I prefer powdered sugar to cornstarch to help prevent from sticking. But one of the keys is to roll your fondant nice and thin and to make sure the cake that you're fondant is cold and the buttercream underneath it is nice and hard, and it makes it much easier to cover your cake.
Okay, great. All right. Vicky asks, "What type of scalpel do you use and where do you buy them?"
We use mostly just X-Acto knives
Okay.
that you can get at a craft store, or sometimes just if it's not a real intricate detail, we'll use just a paring knife or a pizza cutter.
Okay. Yeah, those paring knives with the sharp tip, they
Yeah,
usually work just
they work
fine
pretty well.
for
Yeah,
for
yeah, we use
mostly, yeah.
yeah, and the X-Acto knives you can get like the self-healing mats to cut on them from Michaels or something, and those work really well also, so that you don't ding up your table that you're cutting on.
There you go. Nice. Okay. Let's see. This is a whole nother class, but
Okay.
Jennifer asks, I love your cakes. How do you get such crisp top edges on your cake? Mine are never that sharp.
You gotta buy my DVD.
Exactly. It's in your 101, right? Or is it in your 102?
For the buttercream is 101, yeah.
101. Okay, so
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, basically, it is a kind of a long answer. I don't think I could even answer it in one question. But it is a lot of we sort of go over the cake over and over with buttercream in and out of the
Mhm.
freezer is a short answer.
Yeah.
So it's not the kind of thing that's a quick thing to do. So if you're
Yeah, definitely.
looking for it,
I would suggest the DVD.
yeah, thank you.
So yeah, it's not the easiest thing to get down. So having a DVD
No,
where you can watch it over and over again
yeah, in
and practice
practice,
along with it,
yeah.
that's probably your best bet.
Yeah, and don't get frustrated because it does take a while to sort of get the hang of it.
Yeah,
But
it
once you
does.
get it,
It
you're like,
takes some time.
oh,
Yeah, once you do, you're just like, oh, cool,
yeah,
I
exactly,
did
exactly.
it. Yeah. Let's see. Someone asks about isomalt. Do you know much about isomalt?
So yeah, we do use isomalt when we do our pork sugar. We always use isomalt. It's much easier to work with because it's not quite as volatile as sugar. It doesn't turn to caramel as quickly, and so it's pretty easy to use. You only have to use a little bit of water with it to cook it. You don't have to start from a full like wet sand kind of thing. And it just seems to be a little easier to work with. We use it for like poured sugar, wine bottles, and that kind of stuff. But we don't do a ton of isomalt.
Okay. This person is she is talking about her isomalt melting after a while. Do you ever have that problem?
Well, I mean, a few things to keep in mind with isomalt for sugar at all is sugar is hydrophilic, all sugar. So you definitely don't want to refrigerate it. If you put it in the refrigerator, it will get sticky and gross.
And melt.
If it's anywhere near any moisture, it will melt. One of the problems you might be having is that you might not be cooking it to a high enough temperature. You want to make sure that I forget the exact temperature now off the top of my head, but you can like Google, look online, and see what temperature to cook it to. Because if you cook it a little bit too low, it doesn't have the hard crack
Mhm.
stage, and then it does melt quicker. So that might be part of the problem.
Okay. Good tip. Thank you.
Hmm.
Okay. Here's another kind of a personal one. She asks, absolutely love your cakes. My question is, which cake or type of cakes are your absolute favorite?
Well, Amelia and I were actually talking about this earlier. I like cakes that are sort of different, obviously, than we've done before. It's always a
Mhm.
challenge. I personally enjoy animals and things like people or dresses where they're sort of organic, and it's more of a sculpture than like a exact replica. My least favorite are like cars and like trains and all that stuff that my son likes.
Things that you have to be really particular
Yeah,
about.
a little detailed. Like a lot of people like that stuff. I'm not. It's not my favorite. I'd rather sort of do something where I kind of like throw on a little sash
Uh-huh.
or sort of be free with it.
Yeah, that's more of a Mike McCary thing, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
With
exactly.
that perfect, making
Right.
everything measure exactly to the scale.
Right.
He's really good at that, by the
He
way.
is very, very, very good at that.
All right. Oh, okay. Someone's asking what other videos are you going to do? Do you have anything in the works right now?
We have plans to do a few more sort of DVDs and tutorials. One being topsy-turvy cakes. It's one of our most popular requests. Is sort of how to sculpt them and stack them and all that. And possibly some more with more sculpted animals and that kind of stuff. And then possibly in the future doing more sort of figures and more detailed figures as well.
Great. That'll be fun.
I mean, not immediately, so
Yeah.
but in the
Just
next
watch
year.
for them.
Yeah, yeah,
Just watch for them.
not
And
next week.
we'll actually have a link to your website
Okay, great.
so that everyone can go and follow. And I guess you have a place where you can actually sign up to get updates and things like that, right?
Yes, we have. Yeah, when we're sort of getting ready to launch things, we'll put up a thing, and you can get an email alert when it comes out.
Perfect. All right. Here's a really good one. Sarah asks, well, she says at the beginning, but you're such a successful businesswoman. How do you balance this and your family? Do you have any tips for the other moms out there? I know that's a really big one because a
It
lot of us
is.
are moms.
Yes. It's sort of a joke I have with my husband. I'm like, that I'm like, women, we run the house, we run the kids, we run the business. I mean, not that our husbands don't do things, but
Of
there's a
course.
lot of pressure on us. I think. I
Yes.
think you need to ask for help. I have an assistant. She also helps actually watch my son 3 days a week. My mom helps out. I think that you have to let go also a little bit, and I have a great staff here at the shop because I'm not here as much. So I think the biggest transition for me was sort of letting go of some of the aspects of the business and trusting people to deal with customers and trusting people to sort of manage your staff more because if you can't do everything and something's going to give, and to me my family is obviously the most important thing, so that comes first, and then but you have to make sure that you have good people in place so that you can step away and things will continue to run smoothly. I think that's sort of and I'm a perfectionist, and I'm sure most of people that are watching are too. So
Uh-huh.
it's hard sometimes to let go and be, the control. You want control, but as I'm getting older, I'm learning more easily that things it doesn't really matter as much. So I think you got to choose your battles and kind of focus on what's most important to you.
I think as cake decorators, that's probably the most important thing is
Right.
be able to learn to let some things go because I
Yeah.
think a lot of us are. I know I
Right. Yes.
am. All
Definitely.
right. Let's see. Sherry asks, have you seen a new upcoming trend in wedding cakes this year?
Um. Let's see. Uh. Trying to think. I mean, we're still doing a good amount of ombre. It's still very popular,
Nice.
and
Hmm.
we're doing it in different ways. We're doing it inside the cake, like different cake layers. We're doing it outside the cake. We're doing it on cupcake stands. We're doing it even with just like floral arrangements. So I definitely see that. I see a lot of different textures being used, whether it's sort of like a burlap is very popular, or whether we're using texture to mimic banding on dresses or certain ribbons and stuff like that. We see a lot of that, and we're still using a good amount of color. People are, we still have our market for the classic white wedding cake, but a lot of people are sort of departing that and going with more fun and bright colors.
That is fun. Is there a most popular color?
Um, we're seeing. I think last year what the Pantone was orange. We're seeing a lot of orange this year. I think this
Hmm.
year it's green. We've gotten a few things for green too. I think orange, green, a lot of purples being used this year.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Very nice. Okay. We will probably take just one more question. Let's see. Oh, here's one that refers back to your little lion.
Okay.
Let's see. Debbie asks, "Can you make the lion with fondant, and would you need to add Tylos?"
Um, you can. One of the things with fondant is that the bodies tend to settle more easily than with gum paste. If you are going to use fondant, I would definitely recommend using Tylos. Some people do even mix gum paste with fondant, half and half. You could probably get away with it for this, but just watch out because you want to try to make the body a little smaller, maybe because as he dries, he'll kind of settle and get these weird like lines in his belly.
Okay, great. I do have to add in one more question because I thought
Okay.
it was a fun one.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Do you often have to redirect your clients to make a different cake and filling choice based on their design? Like, or do you feel like you
Yes.
have to, do you feel like you ever want to or need to redirect their design or their,
Oh yeah,
anything?
definitely. I think both choices. I mean, I've had people who have requested the most bizarre flavor combinations, and I have to say to them, listen, like it's not going to work for your group of people are not going to enjoy this flavor. Or if they want a really crazy structural design and they want like mousse or something really soft inside, I'll say no, it has to be buttercream because it won't stand up. And then if you for design, people sometimes have ideas of what they want to look good, or they're so scatterbrained that they like 50 different cakes and they want to like merge them all into one, and you have to sort of have them focus on what their favorite part of which cake is, and then we kind of go from there.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's part of one of the biggest struggles, is that you want to make the customer happy, but you also want the cake to reflect your aesthetic style. So you don't want it to be crazy.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I know that there are some people that come, it's their daughter's 16th birthday or something, and they have like 50 different things that they want to incorporate
Right.
in the
Yes.
cake. And,
Yes.
how do you incorporate all of
Well,
those things?
I mean, I think when you're doing like a sweet 16 cake, you have a little more liberty to be a little crazy because
Yeah.
it's a fun, whimsical, young, youthful kind of thing. And a lot of times, a lot of our cakes I'll see on our website will have like a crazy, bright, topsy-turvy cake, and we'll have like a crazy amount of stuff thrown on it, like ice skates and starbursts and computers and all the stuff that they love. And in that area, I think that you can sort of it works, but
Uh-huh.
for more sophisticated people, adults, you don't want to do that. We try to make them focus on one or two of their favorite items. We just recently put up a cake on the blog, and the husband, his 60th birthday, and I think he was in the Navy, and he was a firefighter, and he loved baseball and bowling and all these things. And we finally kind of targeted down and did a fire hydrant on like a Navy hat, and then the board was a baseball, and so it worked, but it wasn't like too much stuff. So I
Uh-huh.
think it's sort of trying to get people to focus on the most important aspects.
Wonderful. Well, I know we have a bunch of more questions, so we always do. I think we got to quite a few today, so that was fun.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so let's move on to, we want to talk about things that are up and coming for you.
Okay.
Um, so you have an actual physical class that you're going to be teaching coming up. Is
Yes.
this a
Yes.
physical class?
It is a physical
Okay.
class at my shop in Denville. The actual date hasn't been announced yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be at the end of April.
Okay.
It'll probably be announced this week. So there is a spot on the Pink Cake Box U to get notified when it's posted, and there's pictures and everything, and it's going to be kind of a fancy 12-inch tall. We're calling it a Gibson Girl kind of figure modeling class, a little more advanced, more facial features, and hand painting is going to be taught, as well as sort of ruffle designs and everything for a fancy dress. So it's going to be a great class.
Sounds like it. So if you're in the area or feel like you can travel to that area in
Yeah.
April,
Yes.
so just watch for I guess you should just run over to the website, to Anne's
Yes.
website, and
Yes.
sign up for her updates, and then you'll know, when things
When
are
we'll
going to be
launch.
happening. Yeah,
Yeah.
great.
And the craftsy figure modeling class also is launched too.
Yeah, so the Craftsy figure modeling class has just come out, not too long ago, right?
Right.
Just
Last week. Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anne, for coming
Oh, you're
on.
so
And
welcome. Thanks for having me.
oh, you've just got that, spunky fun personality, and
Oh,
I'm sure that that's why you do
thank
so
you.
well with your cakes and
Thank
with your
you.
business and all of that. So
Thank you.
so yeah, thank you so much, and thank you everybody that listened in. And I guess we'll see you. We're actually working on making these cake food classes every week instead of every other week now. So
Excellent.
we are working away. So I hope you guys can join us next time. For those of you that a few weeks, I guess it's been a month or two back, Paul Joachim was on, and it didn't record, and so a lot of you missed the training. And so are actually going to have him back next week. So yay!
That's good.
Exciting news for that. All right. Well, thank you so much, and we will see you guys all next time.
Bye.
Bye.